So, when you hear the word Renaissance, what pops into your head? Probably Italy, right? Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, that whole scene. But here's the thing. At the very same time, an incredible revolution of ideas was bubbling up all across the rest of Europe. Let's dive into how this Northern Renaissance kicked off changes that, believe it or not, still shape our world today. Okay, here's the question for you. What's the connection between the classes you take at school, the books on your shelf, and even the dream of a perfect world? It sounds kind of random, right? But the answer actually lies in this amazing movement that started 500 years ago. It completely flipped how people thought about, well, everything.
You see, those big, world-changing ideas from the Italian Renaissance, they didn't just stay put in Italy. Nope, they started traveling north. And when they got to places like Germany, France, and England, they took on a life of their own. They became something totally new.
It all kind of kicks off in the late 1400s. You've got scholars and artists heading back from Italy, and they're bringing all these exciting new ways of thinking with them. This just sets the stage perfectly for brilliant writers, guys like Erasmus and more, to publish stuff that completely blew people's minds. And the best part? A brand new invention was about to make those ideas go viral.
So, what was the big difference here? Well, on one hand, you had the Italian Renaissance, which was all about celebrating classical art and what humans could achieve. But the Northern Renaissance had a slightly different mission. It was really focused on using all that ancient wisdom to fix society and rethink Christian beliefs. It was less about just admiring the past and more about building a better future right now.
So, what was the engine driving all this change? It all came down to one single powerful idea, a totally new way of thinking about what it means to be human.
I mean, think about it. What does it really mean to reach your full potential? That's the exact question these thinkers were obsessed with. They had this incredible belief that every single person had this huge potential for good, and the key to unlocking it all? Education.
And this new focus on human potential gave birth to a philosophy with a kind of fancy name, Christian humanism. But the core idea is actually pretty simple. It's the belief that by studying the great books of the past, and by using your own brain, your own reason, you could become a better person. And not just that, you could help build a better society for everyone. And their goals were huge. They weren't just sitting in libraries reading old books for fun. They had a real mission. They wanted to reform society, to make it more fair, encourage people to actually think for themselves, and they saw education as the #1 tool to make it all happen. It was all about blending ancient wisdom with their values to create something powerful. All right, so every big movement has its superstars, right? For Christian humanism, there were two writers who were basically the rock stars of their day, using their words to challenge, well, pretty much everything. Let's meet them. Desiderius Erasmus and Thomas More. Now, these guys came from different worlds. Erasmus was this traveling scholar from the Netherlands. More was a top English lawyer and a big deal in the government. But they were best friends, and they were totally united by this one powerful idea, that you could use writing to spark real, meaningful change. Erasmus was a huge deal. They even called him the Prince of the Humanists. His big thing was that he wanted religion to be something real and personal, a practical guide for how to live a good life every single day, not just a bunch of boring, empty rituals. And he was super clever about how he did it. Instead of just writing some angry, serious book, he wrote a hilarious satire called The Praise of Folly. He literally used humor to poke fun at greedy leaders and foolish behavior. It got people to laugh, for sure, but then it made them stop and think, hey, wait a minute, he's got a point.
Now, his buddy, Thomas More, gave us a word we still use constantly, utopia. He wrote this famous book about a perfect imaginary island where there was no greed and everyone worked together. It even comes from the Greek words for no place. But really, it was his way of holding up a mirror to his own society and asking, couldn't we do things a lot better, a lot fairer? Okay, so you've got these incredible world-changing ideas, but how do you get those ideas out to the masses? The answer came from a machine that would literally change everything. Just try to imagine this. Before the printing press, every single book had to be copied by hand. It was painstakingly slow, insanely expensive, and it meant that books were a luxury only for the super rich. But then, boom, the printing press comes along. Suddenly, books could be mass-produced. They became cheaper, and they became available to way more people. This was a complete revolution in information. And check out this number. A single printing press could churn out more books in just 1 month than a scribe could copy in his entire lifetime. That's not just a small improvement, that's a quantum leap. Suddenly, ideas could travel faster and farther than anyone had ever dreamed possible. The impact was just massive. The writings of Erasmus and More basically went viral. And with books getting cheaper and easier to find, more and more people learned how to read. You could honestly call it the internet of the 16th century. It connected minds all across Europe and spread these new ideas like wildfire.
So, okay, this is all cool history, but why does any of it matter to you today, right now? Well, the truth is, the legacy of this period is absolutely everywhere. It's in our art, it's in our schools, it's even in the way we think about the world.
Art, for example, went through this huge transformation. Artists in the North started using these new oil paints to create works with jaw-dropping realistic detail. And, tapping into that humanist spirit, they started painting regular people doing regular things, not just myths and legends. It was a way of saying that everyone's life, everyone's story is important and has beauty. And what about school? Ever wonder why you study subjects like history, literature, or art? That comes directly from the humanist idea that education isn't just about learning a trade. It's about creating well-rounded, thoughtful citizens. It's all part of this legacy that's designed to help you reach your full potential.
So the big takeaway here is that these ideas from hundreds of years ago never really went away. The variety of subjects you learn in school, that's a direct legacy. The fact that we still use the word utopia when we dream about a better world, that's them. The core belief that we can improve ourselves and our society through reason, that's Christian humanism at its heart.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Erasmus and More used the tools they had, pen, paper, and a printing press, to try and change their world. So if you had that same power today, with all the tools we have now, what problem would you want to solve? What would your world-changing book be about?